Hi, I'm your host, Erica Polsinelli, and welcome to Evolve by Erica, the podcast, where we talk all things spirituality, ascension, health, wellness, and beyond. I'm so excited that you are here. Come on in. Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Evolve by Erica, the podcast. I'm excited to have Alanna from Combined by Alanna on the podcast today. I've heard people talk about food combining, and I was always very curious of it. And I do want to say right now, I'm at a phase in my life where I have zero rules. Yesterday, I went to a vegan place and ended up getting shrimp tacos. What? Vegan places were my dream. I would never be able to decide what to get because there were so many options for me that were plant-based. And now I'm just incorporating more things into my diet and really eating intuitively. As you know from the past, plant-based has been a passion of mine because what it led to. And at this period in my life, I just came to the point where feel like there is no right or wrong, and it's all about what works for us as individuals. And I've never believed that so firmly, not just with food, but with meditation, with any avenue of our life. Everything is so individual. And it's amazing that we're living in this time of information because we can listen to all the different experts with all their different experiences and all their different opinions. And we take what feels and resonates with us and we leave the rest. And that's really how I wanted to introduce this podcast today, because Alanna is plant-based. She calls herself vegan. She refers to herself as a vegan, and she follows this order of eating where she feels like it is not restrictive at all, and really wanted me to communicate that. It's an interesting conversation. She shares about her experience, what has led her here, the meditations that she practices and how that played a role in her journey, and all about food combining. And we just touched the surface of it. We're going to be putting a link in the show notes to show you a chart that she has, which I think is possibly more of a fuller picture of all the things that you can eat and the times that is suggested through food combining in order to optimize digestion. And as always, this is never ever medical advice or anything we're guiding you on. It's just Alanna sharing her experience, what has worked for her, and to hopefully inspire anyone to try whatever feels aligned and guided to them. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I know.
Following up on me coming on your YouTube channel.
I know.
I realized in that moment we can chat truly forever.
No, forever.
And I was like, we need more time together. You need to come. We need to hang out on the pod. We have other things that we want to plan together.
Totally.
Because there's so much synergy and alignment, and I'm fascinated by so much of what you do, and I'm so excited to share it with this community as well.
No, I'm excited too. And I'm honestly, I'm you're one of my favorite people.
I love you.
And I love you so much. And I was this is I just us together are such a duo, but also I just like hanging with you. I feel like we have so much to talk about. You just said we literally can't stop. We can't shut up.
I know. I want you to introduce yourself. When I think of you, I think of food being medicine.
Yeah.
And being able to use our food to maximize our health, our energy, our spirituality, everything. Mm-hmm. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got to this moment in time and where you are.
Thank you. So I'm Alanna. For anyone who doesn't know me, I don't know that I started Combined by Alanna, and that was where do I start? I'm basically
go all the way back. Take
all
us.
The way back.
Take us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want it all.
You want it all. Okay. Everything I do is based on gut health. I like to say I'm your gut health bestie. I'm here to give you, in a world of so much information and misinformation, but just bottom line, abundance of information, abundance of products, abundance of stuff. I want to clear the space a little bit, or at least make it, I think knowledge is power. So I want to give you the real information on what's happening with your body. And that started via food. So that was, back in, I've always loved to cook, but, never, I guess growing up, I had a general interest in health, but I didn't really have a general education on your gut or your gut microbiome or what was going on. That's not, I grew up in Michigan. So like I'm from the Midwest, it was like meatloaf. So I'm like, I started meditating, which is what, we connect on besides everything else. I started doing transcendental meditation when I was in college. And that's just because, yeah.
What guided you to that in college?
Yeah. So I was going through it was probably like my worst year, I'd say. Like, honestly, it was like my sophomore year of college.
Mm-hmm.
It was my worst year. I was on like so much medication that just kept changing because my mental state was changing. So I was on, like Klonopin, and then I became depressed. So they put me on Lexapro. So then I was studying abroad a year, I was on it for a year, studying abroad in Florence. And I just decided, I was like, it's dimming my light. I don't know why I did this. Like, I don't know what got me to realize I don't want to be on this. Maybe I was happy or something. Maybe I was like, you know what? I don't need this. So I basically got off of my medication, and I learned about transcendental meditation from my mom's therapist, who's amazing. And I started doing transcendental meditation, and I was so happy to say I was like, wait, I'm not anxious anymore. Like, I'm not an anxious person at all. And, I also, with that, I was like, okay, there's something more to, there's something more than medication. There's something more than like just, simply giving you a pill for something. I also was going to therapy. And I tried like many different therapists. I mean, there's a lot that got me to this point.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be willing to do the work to get to this point. And so like even going to therapists and them telling me, because again, with anxiety, like, a lot of that, I had a lot of food trauma because I was the way I controlled my anxiety was through not eating. I just didn't want to eat. I also I felt sick to my stomach, which a lot of that medication can do that to you. But also that's really just how it manifested. So I was getting treated for an eating disorder too. Cause like nobody knew, all you can see on the outside, on the physical side, you see like, oh, she looks kind of sickly. Like she's really skinny. So, that was like to them, the obvious thing.
But you were or weren't struggling with that?
I was struggling. The root of it was anxiety.
Okay.
But it manifested in disordered eating.
Okay.
So I was getting treated for disordered eating. That meant like I got sent to a nutritionist, and it felt so elementary to me. Mm-hmm. I was like, I feel like this isn't working because I know all this. Like I don't need to be told that I don't need the food pyramid in front of me, and I don't need to be told like, what to eat, what not to eat, what maybe I should eat more of. That's not. And then finally the right therapist said to me, oh no, your problem is anxiety. That's really what your problem is. And I like cried because I was like, thank you for like finally, like I felt like more seen.
Yeah.
And I was so happy. And it all clicked for me then. So that was really the beginning of like sort of like an awakening for me of like, there's more, go deeper, the transcendental meditation. That all happened at the same time. And sorry if I'm telling this all in like a jumbled way. I want it all. Yeah, I'm like, this is really my stream of consciousness. But so then then that was like, I guess, yeah, my sophomore year of college. Then I became an adult. And when you're an adult and you're living in New York, I moved right from college to New York and to work in fashion. I was meditating still. So I was able to, I already had that self-awareness and introspection and that going on. So I was able to really isolate my gut from everything else because I started to notice, I'm like, God, why do I have like chronic bloating? And why am I always fatigued? And why do I have brain fog? I can't retain any information. I can't even like go through the day without feeling like absolutely lethargic.
Wow.
And I didn't know what was going on. And so you go to, then I go to a Western doctor and I get told I have IBS. IBS is pretty much an umbrella term for, there's something wrong with your gut because we did all these tests and nothing else is popping up. But IBS, something wrong with your gut. We don't really know what that means or we don't really know what that is, but it's in the gut. So you're like, okay, that doesn't leave you with anything. That doesn't leave you with a solution. That's just like, okay, that's the problem. Like, thanks.
Yeah.
And I was telling your producer, like, I started to realize the more I was talking about what I was going through, which is years of trying to figure out, again, what that IBS even meant. Going to doctors, going to, trying different supplements, diets, all the things, trying so many different things, wasting a lot of time and money, quite frankly. I realized that the more I was talking about that, and then eventually what I came to find, which I'll get into, that worked for me, I realized I'm like, if you go into a room and like asked anybody who like raise your hand if you have IBS, 9 out of 10 people will raise their hand. And I'm like, okay, like that's a problem that people, don't really know how to work with their body or what's going on with it. So I came to learn about food combining on social media. It was a last ditch effort. This is in 2018. And I took it little by little because if you hear about it, it's like anything, it's a big concept with principles.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, it's a little daunting. So, I tried one of the principles, which is to eat, fruit first in the morning before anything else. My big thing was having like a banana for dessert, like with like peanut butter and whatever. I was like, what, tonight, like I'm going to not do that. And in the morning I felt like lighter. I was like, okay, there's something to this. Like something's working. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to try, like, let me go read again the other principles. And I did. And it just started working. And I'm like, I felt all of a sudden all this energy. I didn't feel bloated. I felt like, because your digestive system, I started working with it.
Mm-hmm.
And your digestive system takes up so much energy from your body when it's in work or when it's working. And I realized, I'm like, okay, like I have so much energy freed up now that I can do more with it. And because of that, like I'm, by the way, keep in mind, like I'm working on production. Like I'm working in fashion at a job that keeps me for sometimes 12 to 14 hours because I'm on set. So like that's really what I was doing. So I'm like, okay, there's something to this. I need to talk about it more. But I had energy too. So I had the energy to, I started an Instagram account, and it literally, again, I always loved cooking. I just did. I cooked with my mom growing up. And I started cooking differently because I'm like, okay, it got me also more creative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that too, transcendental meditation does as well, is it gets you more creative.
Yeah.
That coupled with food combining was like a superpower. I was like, oh my God. Like, I really felt like I could do anything. And I'm like, okay, great. So I started an Instagram account that was just sharing the meals I was making. It was with friends, like for friends. It wasn't supposed to be anything. It was like in 2019. And I was also, at the time, the company I was working at I was working on the content team with photographers. So they were kind of, once I started to realize that this was, I wanted to do a little bit more with this that's because people were DMing me and saying, like, wait, I want this. And these are, by the way, keep in mind, these are people I didn't know. I started gaining an organic following of like people I literally didn't know at all. And they were just like, and it wasn't called Combined by Alanna, my account either. They were just like, oh my God, like, how did you make this? I'd love you to cook for me. I'd buy this, etc. All that stuff. And I was like, okay, there's something here. So again, back to working on the content team. I'm like, what should I do? And I literally was so lucky to be surrounded. I think you're always at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So I was able to, work with the photographers who told me, get a light box, put it in your tiny studio apartment. The meals you're making, take pictures in the light box. That light box was like my everything.
That's so great.
It got kind of gross. It got kind of dirty.
I'm sure.
It's food.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
But food is, in my opinion, the most like Instagrammable thing.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. I've just come to realize that, that's,
Yeah.
and and I'm like, okay, also people are asking for this, for my food. So I started Combined by Alanna as a prepared meal service in 2019. And I just guinea pigged. I mean, I think most entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
You just do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You just go do it. And, some people don't have a plan, or some people do. I certainly didn't. I was just like, all right, like I'm going to get a bunch of containers. I'm going to get, I'll just put up a menu. I don't know. I was winging it entirely. So people were getting the food. I did a pop-up at Equinox. Then the pandemic happened, and it was a blessing for me because I went home to Michigan. Most people are like, oh, great. So people were ordering food from you. And I'm like, no, I didn't have a business plan. I was working I had a full-time job too.
Yeah.
And also
During the pandemic?
I still worked at my job, but it was remote. So I went home to Michigan for 5 months, and I was able to actually come back in August with a business plan and a subscription model, and all like revamped my entire website, and actually, took it from a landing page to a Shopify that like actually, worked.
Yeah.
And so that's really how it started, and it grew. And a lot of it honestly had to do with I did a lot of influencer seeding. That's just what worked then. I think about this a lot. I'm like, would it work now? Because the world is so different. It's shifted a lot in social media. I'm like, would that work? I don't know. But it did. It worked then.
Sending it to influencers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then just posting about it. Because, it's like my business at first was just a plant-based prepared meal service. It was vegan, even, not even plant-based. I think plant-based is different from vegan, in my view. But yeah, it was just a vegan prepared meal service. And it just grew. And that's how, and it grew because of the seeding, honestly.
So cool. I want to go back to when you first started TM meditation.
Yeah.
How soon did you start to feel changes after you started your meditation practice?
Immediately.
You did?
Immediately, yeah. I remember because with TM, do you do TM?
No.
Or have you ever tried it?
I haven't.
Okay.
No.
It's like when you do, so in TM, you have to go to a TM center, and you go to a certified TM teacher. And so you have a ceremony where they give you like a meaningless mantra, and like
they're all meaningless.
Oh, really?
Mantras? No, I'm asking you.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's so the whole thing. Because if I said to myself, like if I close my eyes and I was like apple, 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 to me, I'm like, oh, apple, I need to make a smoothie, and then I have to go to the grocery store, and like all these, so it's meaningless.
Okay.
So it means absolutely nothing, and you're not allowed to, because of that, you're also not allowed to say it out loud. Because then if I told you, then I think Erica, in my head. So it's really fascinating.
It is. It really is fascinating. It's like this secret mantra, and you're not allowed to tell anybody it.
But I love that because it makes it sacred. It does make it a spiritual practice, and I love that about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember like I tried it, and I felt this sense of calm, like, oh my God, like euphoric calm. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I want to feel like this always. So I was excited to go back, and I haven't stopped since. And it's funny. I mean, you're technically supposed to do TM 20 minutes twice a day. I do it once a day.
In the morning?
In the morning before I do anything. Yeah. Yeah, because, you get your day started. Yeah. And you're just going. And it's hard to then go take the 20 minutes. I'll do it with I literally will put on even from the freezer like a silk eye, ice, what is it? Like a silk ice mask. Silk ice eye mask. I'm like, try saying that. So I put that on, and I'll meditate, and I wake up, and I'm like, It's like everything is just
Do you do it lying down or sitting up?
Sitting up.
Sitting up, yeah.
Yeah, sitting up because, and it's funny, you can feel yourself kind of like, going, like nodding off, like in a good way, like I'm not falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But they say that I mean, that's what I learned. It's deeper than sleep.
The brain waves that it brings you to.
Yeah, I've even heard that even from like Jay Shetty and like, from his podcast and everything, because he used to be a monk.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he's talked about, I was like so fascinated by it too, like just how like the monks wouldn't sleep, they just meditated.
It's unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
I thought that was so interesting.
I know.
Yeah,
because it's so restorative when you can get yourself to that like deep brainwave state.
Yeah, it changes your entire brain chemistry.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you notice any changes with your gut and digestion through your start of meditation at all.
I don't. You know what it was? I was in college, so no, because I wasn't paying attention to it. I didn't have the information. I was in a sorority. I'm like going out every day and drinking like a ton, and like I went to a Big Ten school. Like it's just like
Yeah.
So I wasn't even thinking about it. Maybe I was, or maybe I had something going on like in my gut. I'm sure I did, especially with drinking can do that. But like, no, I wasn't in tune with it, at least, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like we have such different stories. Like meditation guided you to your food changes, and my food changes guided me to meditation, which is so funny. And after I started meditating, like going to the bathroom was always like a big thing for me. Like it was just always like topic of conversation, whether I couldn't go or I went, and it was like not a consistency I wanted. Like it was always a thing.
Yeah.
And once I started meditating, and probably also just eating more in tuned, because I was more in tune from meditating, everything became more efficient and regular.
That makes sense.
And it sounds so similar to your story with what you found through food too. And it's just it's so nice when we could find whatever outlet it is, whether it's the place that we're eating from or the place that we're meditating from, and we're actually able to see our physical body show us evidence and proof like this is working for you. And everyone's different.
It's true.
And everyone's different in how they go about it, but it's so cool to see the evidence and to feel it.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to talk more about once you started food combining. You said you had so much more energy. You felt that like you weren't being slowed down by your digestive system. So you started by eliminating fruits at the end of the day, push them up to the beginning of the day.
Yep.
And now tell us some more principles. I like how you started really slowly and for yourself, and also for like opening us up to this conversation. Can you take us through those like slow layers you start to peel back on your own, so maybe we and the listeners can feel like it's more achievable and manageable if they're guided to try this out?
Totally. So just to start, I'll tell you food combining, what it is. The concept of food combining is just restructuring the order in which you take in your food groups, and also combining them properly. So there's no rigidity towards food. I also, by the way, I cook. I love food. I've always loved cooking. And I know.
I'm getting hungry.
I know. I should.
Like I can't even talk to you without getting hungry.
I love that. I love that association. It's amazing. No, it's it's true. It's like, I think it wouldn't be achievable, or I wouldn't personally, because I love food, have been able to achieve this lifestyle or live this way if there was rigidity around it, and there's not. So it's just simply like restructuring the foods you're already taking in, you're already going to the grocery store, and also, just combining them properly. So yeah, I work one-on-one with clients, and my big thing is, like you just mentioned, like fruit first in the morning before anything else. Once you have something else, skip the fruit. Any other food group, skip it, because fruit takes 20 minutes to digest in the body. It is the purest. It's the best food you can put in your body. We as humans are biologically adapted to digest fruit. It's the only food group that we were actually born to digest.
Wow.
So your body craves fruit. So yeah, fruit first in the morning before anything else. It's the best natural sugar. Your body, by the way, your brain needs glucose. And that's a question I get a lot is like, what about the glucose? They're like, it's so
People
sugary.
are worried about the sugar in fruit.
I know. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because I'm like, no. Like it's fruit is the best thing you can put in your body. It's the right sugar. It's not the addictive sugar. It's not the the cane sugars or the unrefined sugars. It's or the refined sugar, sorry. It's real.
Yeah.
It's so good for you. So fruit before your coffee, I challenge anybody. Before your coffee, have fruit. Juiced, blended, or whole. Have fruit.
Okay.
And please skip the protein powders if you can.
With the fruit or just in general? Let's talk about it.
Okay, yeah.
Because I went through a period of time, like when I'm trying to be really pure, I'm not putting the protein powders in. And then I started to think about other powders too. Like there's this one brand, I won't mention it because like it's just it's a health food brand, but there's a label on it for lead, that there's traces of lead in it. And like I don't know. I know that living in this world, I could really go off on this topic and I never do. So I'm just going to reel it in for a moment. There'll be a time and a place where I'm unhinged.
I'm going to be here for that. I want to be here for that.
But like in the world, we're so bombarded by so many toxins, and that's why it's important to have a healthy body so that we could rise above the exposure of what we do get. But I also think it's important, and it's part of our responsibility to like lessen those so that our body can function in the way that it does. But so like I don't know if the benefits of this specific thing I'm talking about outweighs the possible lead exposure you're going to get. I don't know, but when I see that on there, I'm like, geez. And then it made me think about every other powdered thing in my pantry because I love like my mushroom coffees and all these that come in powder forms. And I'm like, well, if they're not created in the state of California, are they just not putting the lead warning on it? Because I know California has very strict rules about like the transparency. So I have to look into that. I have to look into the laws. But tell us.
I'll tell you all the juicy things. So
the protein powder. So, and then we'll get back to food combining. Sorry.
No, totally no.
Birdwalk.
No. There's so much. No, there's so much. But that's the important thing. There's so much out there, and that goes back to the overabundance of it all.
Yeah.
Is that we, we'll get into that after. But basically the protein powder, just touching on that, it's man-made. Your body's not meant to digest anything that's man-made. It's just not. Your body doesn't know how to work with it.
What do you mean it's a man-made?
It's literally not coming from a whole food. Like,
so if it's pea protein,
man-made, synthetic.
Why? What do you mean? Like in a lab, made in a lab?
Yeah, it's made.
So
in
it's
a lab.
not like ground.
It's not like ground peas. No, it's fully like a lot of it. So a lot of it, like the protein powders, just for using that as an example.
Yeah.
Protein and collagen powders we're not meant to digest. They're intestine binding. They bind to they're like egg white. They end up binding, it looks like an egg white to your intestines. And they're blocking and clogging. And those are clogging your intestines. And they're creating, when we bind our intestines, you're not giving your body space for movement, and that's elimination.
Yeah.
That's going to the bathroom. That's just, you're literally blocking a process that your body, that is the most important function in your body, is elimination, because cleansing is all about what goes out, not what comes in. So that's what protein powder really does, an abundance of it. Also, and we live in such a world of extremes, so like people are so they're heavy on the protein powder or the just a bunch of meat in general. I want to be clear, like food combining is inclusive of all food groups, so I don't think anyone needs to be vegan. I'm vegan, but like I don't think like anyone needs to be. I don't think everyone needs to be vegan to do this, because you literally don't have to be. It just works for me, and that's what I like. But you know, people with all the meats and all the unless you're like a bodybuilder, you're trying to like win some bodybuilding competition or whatever, it's not sustainable. Like it's not sustainable for your overall health. Like it's good in the short term, not the long term. The protein powders, I just especially when with fruit is so alkaline. You're starting your body off at an alkaline state, so pure, and like why compromise that with something that you just simply don't need? So that's why I say, especially in the morning, like do not, if you're doing a smoothie, don't put the protein powder in because you don't need it. You really don't. The collagen powder, you don't need. Your body produces collagen on its own. There's also collagen producing foods that you could try. I mean,
Can you give us examples?
Yeah, I mean, especially as women, like going for like strawberries, that will create collagen. Fruit will create collagen as well. Melons, like these things that are so hydrating. Like we need to go for more hydration, we have to go for more hydrating foods than going for the powders, because that's easy. That's a quick fix. Just to go for the powder or the supplement or whatever. I'm so all about whole foods first and trying food first as your first line of defense. I mean, I think I'm also about proactive healthcare. So like just being proactive about your health, and as soon as you get clear on what foods work for you, and that's kind of the messaging I want to send to anybody, is just really that, like more than, food combining is amazing. It works for me. Some people, it depends on where you are in your health journey, are not there yet, and they're not going to get there. And that's, as long as the messaging they get from me is like, use whole foods first as your first line of defense, that's a win for me.
Yeah.
But the food combining principles, so that's the fruit. So fruit first, and then eating raw leafy greens, or just raw leafy greens, I'd say, because they're more hydrating. But I do tell people in the beginning, or crudité, before anything cooked, because all raw
foods before you eat anything cooked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically raw, like having those raw leafy greens, they act as an alkaline reserve for the cooked food that's to follow. That's a lot of chemistry. I love chemistry and biology. So an alkaline reserve, just basically our bodies lean more acidic, or our stomachs, I should say. Our stomachs are at about a 4.3 pH level. So, and that's because we need to digest food. It has to be more acidic. That's normal.
Yeah.
But to bring, cooked foods are acidic by nature. So by having those raw leafy greens, you're going ahead of the pH. Then you have the cooked food, and then you're bringing yourself back to homeostasis. And you're really just like, that's what like my gut health guru, Gil Jacobs, who's like, he's my mentor, my guru, my colon hydrotherapist. That's what he calls like kicking ass in terms of like your stomach, and really where you're going to see results. That is such a game changer, especially when you're on vacation. Because that's where, you're not really following routine. If you can do that before you go to dinner or lunch or something, if you can just have raw greens, that's a game changer. That's huge. You're not going to have that vacation weight feeling, the feeling of the heaviness. Yeah.
Okay. So what if someone wants to eat eggs after their fruit in the morning? Can you add leafy greens to that to promote the same chemical reaction?
I would say have raw greens. Having a raw green juice will also do the same thing.
Job.
If you're having it first thing in the morning.
Okay.
If you're going to have, and this is where with food combining, it's also the order in which you take things in is something to keep in mind. So like if I had, my juice, then my smoothie, I'm just going through like kind of my day a bit. And then I had all my fruit. I've been doing this for like 5, almost 6 years. So like I'm deep in it.
So if you do a green juice, that has to be before you eat the fruit.
Technically, yes, because it digests It actually, juice in general takes 0 time to digest.
Okay.
Fruit takes 20 minutes.
Got it.
So we're working with digestion
Got
times.
it. Mm-hmm.
So having that juice takes no time.
Okay.
So it doesn't then make sense if, later, like I was going to have my whatever dinner I'm having, my kelp noodles. If I had a raw juice before that, if I go to lunch, let's say I go to lunch and I have like a salad and like, because again, there's no rigidity. So like I'll go to lunch and I'll have a salad. I generally, if I'm on my own, I keep it raw all day long. I like to do that. I just feel good. That's how I thrive.
Mm.
And the deeper you get into it, that's kind of what happens. Because you feel good, so you want to keep feeling good, So basically, if I were to have like a salad with chickpeas or whatever on it, I wouldn't then go back and have a raw green juice because I'm already having this. The juice the nutrients that I want to absorb from the juice aren't going to be absorbed because they're being blocked by the salad. That's just sitting in the stomach getting digested. So that's also, again, the order in which you take in your food groups is also important.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the raw leafy green. So if you were to, the egg thing.
Where do eggs come in?
I know.
I'm big on the eggs right now.
A lot of people ask me that because a lot of people are so big on breakfast.
Yeah.
Because again, like energy, like we want energy. So we wake up, we're tired. A lot of us are so tired. So we're like, we want breakfast. What do I have for breakfast? Because food equals fuel. That's why I say fruit first. Because I'm like, you won't believe the fuel you'll get from fruit, and in fruit in abundance. Because you can have as much as you want, and that's something that a lot of people at first don't. It's hard to wrap your head around. But once you start doing it and you feel it, you're like, oh my God, like I forgot to have coffee. And that's happened a lot with a lot of people I've worked with. They really do.
So cool.
Yeah. It's really fun to watch the shift.
Yeah.
So fruit, then the raw leafy greens, the eggs, do all your fruit.
Some greens and then your eggs.
Some greens and then have your eggs. To anyone starting out. As you get deeper into it, like, you'll start to notice how much less you need. Mm-hmm. And I say that, again, not from a place of rigidity or restriction. You just realize that you don't need as much as you think you need. And those things that you were so dependent on for energy, you're getting from a different source. And breakfast, or especially, is like, a lot of people see breakfast, as they have their ritual. When you talk to people, it's so interesting. You hear like, well, when I have my eggs or my avocado on toast, it's such a my. You hear that a bunch. And I think it's fascinating because I'm like, you get into your routine and that's hard to change. But if you have the will and the way, which I'm saying, fruit, try it. I challenge anybody to just try it. And the eggs, you might stop thinking about your eggs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The conundrum I'm thinking over in my mind is how I am encouraged by many philosophies or teachers or acupuncturists to eat warm food and nothing raw. Like, I had an acupuncturist look at me in my eyes and she's like, I could tell by your eyes you're too cold inside your body, you're damp, and you cannot eat anything raw. Yeah. And that, to me, like, this is where, and I want the listeners to be so empowered too, because it's like, you really need to listen to all the information from all the professionals and everyone you're guided to. And then I think there's these moments of like, wait, but what brings me joy and what feels good for me in my body today? What do I feel like I need today? Because if I was to never eat raw food again, like, I'm always open. Like, I'm listening to you and I'm like, you know what? I could see myself in the summer following this flow and feeling great. And then, in the winter when I'm colder, maybe I need a little bit of the warmer foods. But then there's one day where I'm like, I need a juice this morning. I don't want oatmeal. I don't want the eggs. And it's like so intuitive when we could really listen to our body. Like, I just think I will take something from someone and be like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it 100%. And then I always leave that wiggle room of like, make sure you check in with yourself and see.
Yes.
Because like I love salad. I love raw fruit. I love smoothies. Like this weekend or last week, I was like, I need this smoothie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm being a fucking rebel. Like, I'm drinking a smoothie. And
Hell
meanwhile,
yeah.
people are looking at me like, oh, you yogi, like you're drinking your healthy, clean smoothie. I'm like, no, I'm not supposed to drink the cold smoothie, but I'm doing it because I love it. And it brings me joy and I feel
True.
good. So it's just like you said, with all the information, just taking it in and then like taking the things slowly of what works for you, leaving what doesn't. I know that coconut is something that could go with anything, right? That's something that could be easily combined with everything. But like, what about avocado toast with eggs on it? Is that not combined?
So that's like the third principle. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited about what you just said about like just following everyone else in your intuition, because I totally want to talk about that because I think it's important.
Yeah.
And to know that, again, not from a place of rigidity, and that it is about self-awareness and introspection and doing the work and all that stuff. But avocado toast with eggs. So like the third principle of food combining, there's 4. So we've touched on 2. The third is isolating animal proteins from starches because they just digest differently in the body.
Okay.
Like animal proteins completely just digest like in a totally different tract than starches. So it's like a traffic jam in the body when you combine them. So they're meant to be isolated. But that's when creativity comes in because like, you know, that's when if you want to have like turkey bolognese, use palmini noodles or, you know, zucchini noodles or, you know, have it on its own or pair it with neutral vegetables, which is like broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, green beans, you know, things that aren't starchy. And then starches, pair them with neutral vegetables. Also, starches also include starchy vegetables. So that's like potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes, squash. Oddly enough, the only squash that's actually a neutral vegetable is spaghetti squash.
Okay.
But you learn these things as you kind of keep going deeper into it. But just starting with the basics. And I actually have like even a food combining chart that I send to people just to get them started to be like, you know, choose here and here. Like it's almost like choose your own adventure in food combining.
Cool.
And I'll share that with you so you can send it out.
That'd be so nice. Maybe we could link it to the show notes if possible.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just about like really getting it. It is about getting creative in the kitchen. But again, that's why I initially even began Combined by Alanna as a prepared meal service, because I wanted people to first, like, you know, get them in with the food. My thought was like, okay, get them in with food, good looking, yummy, delicious food that's grounding. And then when they learn, like, wait, I just had this meal and it's like my plant Thai, which is just like pad Thai, but I call it plant Thai because it's vegan. And I thought it was a very cute name.
So
but thanks. But I was like, you know what, like, get them in with that. And then I have people messaging me all the time, you know, when doing my prepared meals, who are like I don't feel the weight of this at all.
Yeah.
Because it's properly food combined, because I didn't put it with, you know, chicken or something. It's a totally vegan, super veggie filled, super nutrient dense, high quality ingredient meal. And that's what really got people kind of on the hook. Which is that's all I want anyways, really. I hope that people can just learn from me. You know, at least take something from me. I don't want to push my lifestyle on anybody, but I think that it's important to do high quality whole foods first. So that's, you know, again, getting people on the hook in that way. Then the fourth principle is eating lightest to heaviest, which is probably to a lot of people the most like controversial.
It is. So you're saying dinner would be the heaviest?
Yes.
That's kind of how I eat.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Really?
Yeah. Like I don't wake up so hungry. I think I've like always intuitively kind of intermittent fast. Just like Vinny opens his eyes. He's like, I want pancakes. Like, and I'm like, dude, like I need 3 hours at least.
Literally.
Like I need time. And I hear so much about this. I just recently saw someone post that like breakfast is like a king, lunch is like a prince and dinner is like a pauper or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I botched that, but
It's okay.
people, yes, definitely controversy. So tell us
Yeah.
your opinion on that.
So it's funny, like, yeah, again, it goes back to what I said before about just like, it goes back to, the breakfast of it all, and like breakfast being the fuel and the thing that gives us energy and all of that stuff. But again, like when we're talking digestion times, we want to work with that. This is about working with your body. So having, basically take the pyramid, put it upside down. And like, that will go, basically you're encouraging elimination and freeing up your digestive system if you're having those lighter foods first. So having your fruit, keeping it mostly raw during the day as much as you can. And that just means, if I were to tell anybody, which I do, like any of my clients I work with one-on-one, like I will tell them the fruit and then have until noon or, whatever, just because sometimes people need to work within sort of a time period. And then I always get the text, wait, I just had fruit, it's 1 o'clock. Is that okay? And then I'm like, did you have anything before that? No. Okay, then fine. That's, then yes, that's totally fine. I'm just giving you guidelines to follow.
Yeah.
Basically. But there's no hard lines. With timing at least. But yeah, I say that and then keeping it raw. So raw foods digest like within an hour or two, like literally takes pretty much no time. Your cooked food will take even longer. Raw foods will take even like, it depends on how raw you're going. They could take less than an hour to digest. Like when I have like my raw leafy green salad before my cooked dinner, I'll eat it like if I wanted to, I could have the hot cooked dinner 20 seconds later because I'm having just raw leafy greens that just go through the system.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's about the order you take them in.
Yeah.
So like if I were to stack if I were to have the cooked food and then do the raw, then the raw food sits on top of the cooked food and it putrefies in the body. And it just creates gas, bloating, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it won't get digested and you won't retain the nutrients that you're getting. You won't absorb the nutrients. It doesn't, your body won't know what to do with it. And it ultimately gets stored as fat.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's just being mindful of like the order you take them in and, how you pair your protein or starch. And that's really food combining. And it's so much easier in practice. It's, saying this, it's a lot of like information. Mm-hmm. Taking it little by little is so literally, I would say anybody, if you want to start out doing food combining, if you want to start out, do the fruit, like I mentioned a million times. Do the fruit in the morning alone before anything else. Don't put anything else with it. Fruit alone. That's it.
Yeah.
And then try a raw leafy green salad for lunch. And then if you're still hungry, like, which most people at that point still are, you're just starting.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm hungry.
Oh, totally.
I eat a lot.
Totally. No, me too. No,
but like I'm hungry. What's next?
I do too. No, I do too. But I do so much fruit.
Yeah.
But to anyone starting out, it's like, that's so radical.
Right.
But to me, it's not. But I'm also part of a very niche, like natural living sort of community here. So it's like, it can be radical to some people. I also get colonics all the time, which is also another radical practice that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, what? Like I couldn't do that. But again, the deeper you get into cleansing, it's kind of a requirement. It's something you need. Your body needs a release, but that's another topic. But anyone starting out, just like, raw leafy greens, like do that. And then have like a blended vegetable soup, or you can have your avocado on toast, you do that, but have the raw grains first. And that will aid, it actually cuts the digestive time of the cooked food that's to follow in half also. So you're really aiding that system and you're really aiding the elimination process. And that's all we want to. We need to release toxins, food debris, just waste and dead matter from our bodies, because it's literally weighing us down. The way you treat your gut microbiome, literally, your gut microbiome talks to your brain. It tells your brain what it needs. It it basically will tell your brain what you're craving.
Yep.
So if you're coming from a place that's unhealthy, and when I say unhealthy, I'm generally talking about just having a bunch of processed stuff, you're going to feel fine because you're like, that's what I'm used to. My body's used to, I'm used to being in this body. When you start cleansing and you start feeling, the shift, it feels uncomfortable at first because detoxing is uncomfortable. You're changing yourself on a cellular level. You're totally restructuring your cells. And that's what we talked about this. Like, that's what happens also when you meditate. Uncomfortable thoughts probably come up because you're sitting in silence and you have to kind of work through them. The same thing happens with, your gut and your body. The detoxing process it's hard, but the shift is so radical. And a lot of people, basically it can manifest itself in sometimes you get a fever because you're literally like getting rid of all this stuff. Yeah. You can get, some skin irritation. You can get some, you feel like a bloat, and that can happen. That's a normal bloat when you are starting to live this life and starting to, get into the cleansing life, as Gail Jacobs, my mentor, calls it. It's called the cleansing life. As you get deeper into it, the shift is so crazy, but then people kind of backtrack, and that's the worst thing you can do. He calls it curing the cure. So it's like, then you're trying to, you're like, oh no, I need to go back. Like, this isn't working for me. I need to go back. That's the worst thing you can do because your cells are rebuilding. You can't stop that process of having your cells rebuild into really healthy, powerful ones.
I'm giggling because I remember the first entire month I went vegan, I couldn't move. And Vinny was like, some diet you're on. And I'm like, it's not a diet. I'm changing my lifestyle. He's like, you can't do anything.
Totally.
I was like wiped the F out. And at the time, like I was teaching and tutoring. I was like working a lot too. But like the contrast was real. And it was a month long for me. It was wild.
And you probably were coming from a pretty healthy place.
Yeah, I thought I was healthy. Yeah.
Oh, that's most people. Same thing. Most people, most people at least that find me or my content or my, just anything are coming from that place that are like, they want to do the right things. They are doing the right things, quote unquote. Because I was like, that's exactly what I was doing. I was eating the salad from Sweet Green and but I was adding cooked rice and I wasn't vegan when I started food combining. I had chicken or I actually really liked fish. But I had like fish and I had like a poke bowl. I remember it was one of my favorite things to do a poke bowl with brown rice and Brussels sprouts, and I was like, oh, this is so healthy. This is great. But I actually felt so bloated. And I remember that. And I remember feeling that way. I'm like, now I know why.
Interesting.
And so changing that, and instead of doing cauliflower rice, which is, we're so lucky to live in a world where we, again, we have all this stuff, and we are, Whole Foods sells pre-riced cauliflower, or Trader Joe's sells pre-riced cauliflower, or whatever your grocery store does. A lot of these places do. Getting creative in the kitchen, going back to that, and really just if you follow any of these principles, really, you're already doing a number on your digestive system in a good way. So you're going to have that energy freed up. You're going to be down to get creative in the kitchen and excited to nourish yourself and excited to do, because you're already putting in the work. So you're like, okay, I'm going to go even deeper. And that happens so much. Yeah. And it's awesome to see the shift. I really noticed that I personally, I like starches more than protein. I was vegetarian when I was 15. And then I stopped because, again, went to Florence, I ate prosciutto. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to do it. Who cares? And then I wasn't vegan until a few years ago, when I was like, you know what, this is what works for me. I'd rather have pasta. And that I have so much energy, and I eat a ton, by the way. I eat a lot of food. I eat more than my boyfriend.
We're talking about that.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I do. He's like, you're like an animal, at dinner. But it's true. But I'm, what? It's not because it's not coming from a place of starvation.
Yeah.
I feel totally satisfied. I'm just I want more, so I'm gonna have more. And that's because I have that healthier I have that healthier mindset, and I know that my lifestyle can aid that healthy mindset too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so in this space right now of like taking in information, listening to all these different principles and really like taking what works
Yeah.
and leaving the rest. And there's so much here that like I know that I want to and can implement. And then there's things that like I'm not ready to let go of that feel good for me right now. So I'll keep them. But it's just so fun to learn, explore, and hear from different people's experience and your experience and hear what has worked for you. Because I think that can help a lot of people who are possibly in a state of like, well, what's going on in my body? And just be able to trial and see what really works.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of what you're currently doing now, what you're transitioning into, if there's anything that you can share about just what you're offering and what might come in the future.
Totally. So I basically I'm a gut health educator. That's before I was a chef. Now I'm honestly number one. I'm a gut health educator, and I just want to teach. I want to teach everyone what's really happening in your body. I think it's important. I think it's as important as like, people say, in school, like they should really teach financial literacy. I also think they should teach what's going on in your body.
Yeah.
I think that's an important tool.
Yes, especially as women.
Mm-hmm. Especially as women. And that's a whole other thing.
But that is a whole other thing.
It is. But like, but it's so like, I want people to know it's coming from a very healthy place and that I've been through it and that like I've been on the other side of it in a bunch of different ways, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. And like I've never been clearer. So basically being a gut health educator is the most important thing to me. So that's number one. And so I have my YouTube channel that you're on.
Yes.
And that's a really fun episode. And basically just teaching people about what's going on in their body and also talking to people because it's not, it's not just about changing your diet. It's also about changing your brain chemistry. And that's why I wanted you on as well. Besides that, we can talk about everything all like for hours, but like, because you understand that you need the shift in the mind and the will to go deeper. You need that because otherwise like it's hard work, but it's so worth it. And it's something that everyone should be taught at least the basics of like that it's all about mind body and those are very interconnected. There's a reason there's a mind body app. So yeah, it's so basically the YouTube channel, just teaching you what's going on in your body, having people like you on who can also speak to that as well. I'm having friends, experts, doctors come on, people who really understand food as medicine, because that's what I'm all about. And then I'm also basically the prepared meals are no more, but I'm shifting that into something else that I'll announce soon. But I'm trying to get clearer on it in full transparency, and I'm working on that. So I'm really excited for that all to pan out and to be able to share that, because I love cooking for people. I love nourishing people, teaching, and really just nurturing, and that's like via food, like there's nothing better.
It's so special and I'm so grateful for it, and I'm so excited for you because transitional times there's so much momentum, there's so much energy, and I'm really excited to see what this next chapter brings for you.
I'm excited too. No, it's really, there's a lot. I have some partnerships coming up, I have some things, but I'll announce them, and then we're gonna do something.
So exciting. Yes, definitely. I know we want to do something together. So we'll plan it.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing from your experience just how this has helped you and how it could possibly help someone else.
Yeah.
If they're guided to it. And in the show notes, I would love to share the chart for everyone so they can see it and just see if there's aspects of it that they're wanting to try. But I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for being here, everything you've shared with me, And I'm excited too with
I
all this
know.
new knowledge and wisdom.
I'm excited for you to
Thank
try
you.
it too. Of course.
Thank
No, I
you.
can't wait. No, if anyone wants any more information, I'm on Instagram, Combined by Alanna. That's never changing, just the meals. But Combined by Alanna, and that's also the name of my YouTube channel.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anywhere else? YouTube, Instagram.
I tried TikTok, I'll be totally honest, and I'm just not good at creating TikToks.
I get it. I
like-
understand.
It's
We
a
can
whole
get
other-
there if we want to. When we just like leave it open.
We could try. We could try. I like watching you TikToks.
Yeah.
Like funny ones.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, that's great. I just like try like it's too much for me.
I understand.
It's
I
too much.
completely understand.
I'm like,
Trust
silence
me.
the noise.
I understand.
You know, but
So
yeah.
for now, Instagram, YouTube, you're doing
Instagram.
also an amazing job there.
Thank you. And I also
Thank
have my
you.
Patreon.
Oh,
If
okay.
anyone wants, which
Cool.
is just another component. I send you weekly meal sort of plan to follow with recipes and a grocery list. And then we have virtual meetups, Q&As, all this stuff. So if you want to join the Combined community, you can also find me on Patreon. So yeah.
Amazing. Can you
fun.
send us all those links so they could be
All
in the
of
show
them.
notes?
Yeah.
Perfect.
For sure.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed Alanna's sunshine, beautiful energy. She's such a sweet soul. She is so passionate about what she does, what she shares, and the food that she cooks. I've been so lucky to try some of her meals and enjoy them. I think coming from an Italian family, it's like a love language to be able to eat someone's meal who just loves to cook. And that energy and frequency absolutely transfers into the food. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We have resources attached that where you could find Alanna if you're inspired by her, and if you want to check out the food combining chart that she offers. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you being here, and I will see you next time. May the long time sun shine upon you. Sat Nam.